Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I know this video ain't gonna come out anytime soon, so I would make it a Laker video, but instead I'll just do a therapy session that doesn't need to be time sensitive. But I'm frustrated because I want to make a Laker video, but the phone's closer to dying and would allow me to speak as long as I want to. So using the other phone and these videos ain't gonna be uploaded anytime soon. As I already explained to you guys about how that goes. So yeah. So, I don't know who the guy is, to be honest with you. He's a rocker of some sort from a different country, but he got on on stage, and made up a chant, "Death to the IDF." And he's proceeding to get all the backlash that comes with that, and of course, naturally, what ends up being revealed is all of the people who he was in contract with happen to be Zionists. At the top of the music industry, that's what you're going to find is a bunch of them most of the time. So anytime you go out saying anything against Israel and their intentions to do horrible things to the Palestinian people, particularly children, suddenly you're a bad guy, and they want to take everything from you that they can. His visa was revoked, he's dropped from his label, and the rest of his group was dropped from their label. It's just like, for me, as I always say, just from a personal standpoint, I try my very best not to go into spaces like that, because you can't win wars that way. Asking for violence because of violence doesn't bring about a lack of violence. So me, I don't run around saying death to anybody, even if I feel otherwise. I feel like spiritually I've been told directly not to do that. So far be it for me to scream anything like that. Doesn't mean that I'm not in favor of capital punishment, because we've talked about that as well. I definitely, against what it is that I know I should, support capital punishment in that way for certain types of offenses, depending on the situation. But I'm not running around screaming it. I'm not calling for that energy upon my spirit. I'm not talking to no demons asking for any type of thing at all. So that's me. I was raised to not think that was something to want. But I know a lot of people are not raised that way, and this is how they feel, and this is what they're chanting. You're asking for the wrong things toward you when you do that. But just the same, I can't think of a more worthy cause if you're going to take that route than this one right here. Man, that's truly how I feel. That's truly how I feel. And so this is what's going on there, and he's getting the backlash and all that, but he gets the public support from all of the people who are pro-Palestine, and that's what it is, A lot of people feel differently about a lot of things, I saw somebody who did a skit, and they were, making fun of the Israelis in whatever way he was, and he used the R word, retarded is the word, in his skit, and there were a few people who scolded him for that. But it's just one of those situations where it's like we're all on the same side as it pertains to wanting to see freedom for those people over there, but not everybody's willing to take the same route. Not everybody thinks every route is the right route, and I don't prioritize policing others, but there are just certain things that I just don't think I should do in representing myself. I try not to use the R word, even though it comes naturally to me. A lot of words from the generation I'm from came naturally to us that today, is not going to go over well. You can't say that. When I was a little kid, and I'll admit it, I used to run around saying the F word, and I ain't talking about F-U. The other word that's not so nice to LGBTQ people. Didn't mean I hated any gay people. I didn't know any gay people to hate. Nor was I aware that it would be offensive at the time. It wasn't brought to our attention that word was any more offensive than any other word we used to describe something we didn't like or someone we didn't like. And that word came easy. That fly out of my mouth. You catch me in 1997 And that word fly out of my mouth quicker than some of these other words, honestly. It would. Until you grow awareness to the harm it does and become a part of an environment where they shun you for using it. And now today it doesn't even come to mind, let alone out of my mouth. I don't even think it. But I remember it, thinking I remember using it. I said all that to say there's power in words, and we need to be aware that sometimes in what we're trying to do, we may misrepresent ourselves and our people, whoever it is that we represent. As we've been talking about a lot in the various videos I've been doing over the last couple of days. We talk a lot about how things reflect back on us as we present ourselves being a certain way and watch others stand on certain things that ultimately look poorly upon them and welcome death to them, so to speak. And we just got to get to a point where we start taking a look at the mirror and seeing what ugliness we are putting out and how it inspires others to treat us whatever way they may, or to think of us whatever way they may, or to judge us in whatever way they may. And maybe you don't care about that, and it can leave you in a place, if you don't, where you're neglecting that in areas where maybe otherwise tomorrow you would have wished you had. As we start to see, and I'm old enough, 40 years old, to see the change in the F word, to see the change in the R word, to see how the world has changed in regards to people and how they react amongst one another, see how people have changed and evolved and how we treat people from different communities and different perspectives and different sexual orientations, stuff like that. I've watched us go from callous to awoken to acting upon being woken. You know, that kind of thing, to like not caring about nothing, to being made aware that being that way is harmful, to starting to change our ways in that regard, and then starting to adapt to that, and then from there vilifying anybody who ever engaged in that, both in the past and in the present. And I just think it becomes a situation where if you watch enough of that and you live long enough to see that, you start saying, okay, what do we agree to today that can be looked at crazy tomorrow? As to say, a lot of stuff didn't age well from the 90s. A lot of stuff didn't age well from the 2000s. What can we see that we don't right now that don't age well, so that we're not being vilified for stuff tomorrow by our kids for things that we were cool with doing today? That's what I want to bring into the equation and start having us look around and say, there's some things that we are callous about, we don't care nothing about. That tomorrow, when they look back on us, they may even come back and get us for some of this. Just like we reaching back into the 90s and getting people for doing stuff that they was cool with, that may have been callous, that may have been of poor energy, now is looked at with a certain vitriol that maybe back then was just considered, you leave it alone. Because that's what's happening. We're reaching in the past and we're holding people accountable for stuff that they were fine with. Whether it's better or worse, we holding them by the standards of today's times. And that is something that I think can continue as we continue to go forward. And so I think that engaging in the best of energy will protect you from being potentially the target of whatever the next Me Too type movement is going to be. And when it comes to genocide, I think that could be where it really gets crazy. I think that a lot of us, I do think, and I'm going to say this to all of y'all, I think it's only right that they do it too. They reach back into the past as it pertains to us and start holding some of these people accountable for genocide. And do whatever to them that they would do to the people of that day. In 2035, 2040, a lot of y'all gonna be old men, old women. They come get y'all and do to you what we should have did to you today for being fine with Israel and their nonsense. I definitely think that's something I support. I support it. I want people to know in 2025, I support that. If y'all want to come back and get some of these bastards for this today, who did this today, that we just didn't do nothing, because, you know, all this stuff that we're seeing is just cruelty, the racially charged cruelty, and the discarding of other people's perspective based on our privilege. You know, make America great again type energy. And come back and get these people for all of this. I really believe that. Hold them accountable tomorrow for what they're doing today. As to where we're in a world where we don't really know how to hold the urgency necessary to hold them accountable. we're not in a space from which to hold them accountable like we're going to be able to tomorrow. But we should reach back in the past and shun anybody who dies, who goes into their graves thinking it was cool to do that, snatch everything that they own, snatch down their statues or whatever they're going to do, plaques that they about to make for themselves, snatch all that shit. I support it. Just like I think we should take down all these statues of these slave owners and these colonizers. 1700 statues and shit like that they gave these people, heralding them for conquering others. Nah, snatch all that shit down. It's time to start shunning people for stuff that we know damn well we frown upon now. I'm with it. I think we should take it further. George Washington, shouldn't be a single high school named George Washington nothing. That dude was a slave owner. Thomas Jefferson, none of them slave owners. None of them. They should all be shunned. They should all be shunned. Scratched from the history books. Disgraced forever because they were doing disgraceful stuff. And if we were on top of what we're supposed to be, that we disgrace them as much as we're supposed to, would maybe shun some of these individuals who engage in the stuff they're doing today, in that same vein, heralding themselves as the greatest this for doing horrible that. Now let's just be honest, that's exactly what's going on right now. You got people celebrating one another for doing horrible things to people that they don't know of, and they can't even rub elbows with enough to respect. They're going to put them in alligator Alcatraz. Yay, me. All right, cool. But you need to go to prison for the rest of your life. For what you're doing to these people is cruel, and it ain't right. Cruelty needs to be punished and shunned. I really believe that. Regardless of who's doing it, how much power they have, or whatever. Today, the world is run by these people who have power and this and that, and money controls everything. But when things trickle down to the consequences, and those consequences become regrettable enough, then revisionist history is going to teach us to hold these people accountable. And that's what our grandkids are going to understand as they're grown up. So you should have held them idiots accountable. We should have never let them get away with that shit. Just because they own this and own that. You should have ripped up them contracts and throw their asses in prison. That's what you should have did. You should have knocked down them walls that they was hiding behind while they was asleep, pulled their ass out of bed and did to them what they did to others. That's what you should have did. But we weren't smart enough to do that. We were too compromised to do that. We were too afraid to do that. We were too primitive in our own spaces without the consequences that come from letting it happen in our mind's eye to fear us into doing what needs to be done with the urgency necessary to do it. So I'm telling y'all. And we're letting people treat people poorly because of bullshit like ownership and supremacy or whatever, man. You have to get them people and stop them from doing this before it leads us to the hole that it's ultimately going to lead us toward. And our grandkids are going to look at us in the future and want to hold us accountable as old people for not keeping up the standards that they develop and the norms that are coming from all of this transpiring as it's going to. Just as we are doing to those in the 90s who used to do things that we don't appreciate, and now we're going back and planting them now. Because at some point in time, we got to realize this is how they're going to treat us. At some point in time, we got to look up and say, yo, you're not going to be celebrated for your mistreatment of people. For shunning people because you had a right to. Controlling the laws, making it so that all the evil shit you wanted to do, you had a right to do. Just because you were you. No. You're going to be shunned. Whatever the conflict of tomorrow is going to be, they're going to look at you and realize you gave birth to whatever the hell they're going to be suffering from. And in their vitriol toward whoever it is they angry at, they're going to look at you and be angry too. I know it's coming because it's what we do now. Look back on people who did horrible things and think the worst of them. But we look at the people who are doing horrible things right now and we just kind of cower. Can't do nothing about it. I don't know what to do. We'll just go about our lives as usual because at least the Super Bowl is going to be on January. The Grammy's going to be on soon and we can watch all of it. So nothing changes for us until somebody does something that is unprecedented, like knock our buildings down with all of us in it. Then all of a sudden we coming together and say, oh, we need the urgency to attack whatever, however, manipulated whatever, propaganda. Let's go kill everybody who they say did this. And all types of other stupid shit that's preventable. At some point in time, we got to realize a lot of the things that we suffer from in the future is preventable if we just start doing things the wise way right now. Just like a lot of the shit that we went through in the past was preventable if we would have had good energy about ourselves beforehand. Holding people accountable, not letting corruption and power and money control who gets to be horrible toward whom and what, man. We'll snatch their asses up and do weird shit to them to scare them away from ever doing that again. Is what we actually should be doing. Just like they're doing and trying to make us afraid of them to allow them to do it. And God told me I'm a bad guy for thinking that way. I don't know what works. I honestly don't know what works. What works? I roll with it all the time when I see stuff like this. I go back and forth every day when I see stuff like this, but at the end of the day, I'm just glad the Lord didn't put me in charge of anything. I'm glad the Lord don't have me in charge of an army. I'm glad the Lord don't have me in charge of a country. Because I already know that I'm not wired to stand as it pertains to, no, we're not going to fight the fighters. No, we're going to fight the fighters for sure. And then the Lord going to throw me in hell for doing things the wrong way. I already know. That's why they say the Lord don't give you more than you can control. He gave me this camera. He told me to walk down this street as a poor man. You don't need all that money. You don't need all that power. You don't need an army ready to run through a wall for you, because you're going to send them at people that everybody's afraid to fight. If we're going to crash out, we're going to crash out for righteousness. We ain't going to be crashing out, pulling moms away from their daughters in the street because they Spanish. Hell no, we going straight to Israel. We're going to kill some IDF soldiers. Don't let me be a trillionaire. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm sending waves and waves of people there every 5 minutes. But I'm strange like that. That's the point. That's why God didn't give me that type of power. That's exactly why he didn't give me that type of power. He allowed people who are in positions like that to not give a shit. You understand what I'm saying? Like literally, I can't imagine any of them care, because if they did, they'd be doing it. Sex sickos and stuff controlling our country, man. They the ones that control everything. That's why you don't see nobody having any urgency to stop cruelty, because they engage in the devil's energy. They are cruelty. But it's the people's responsibility. It's the people's responsibility to hold everybody accountable, just like it's our responsibility to allow the Lord to hold us accountable. And we're failing. 2025 people failing, man. And when they look back on the history books and they see how a genocide took place, and you looked at America and America didn't care because they were too busy celebrating themselves, chasing what they wanted, thinking about themselves, we're going to be in disgrace as a whole. Our entire country and everybody alive today. Absolutely disgraced. Why? Because you paid for a genocide and you didn't care. Literally. You paid for a genocide, you act like it wasn't happening. You paid for a genocide and you were worried about your political stance from one side of the genocide to the next. My guys did genocide without the racism. Our guys did genocide with the racism. You guys both killed people with your money and with your indifference and with your culture. You're all disgraced. The only ones who ain't disgraced is a few people like myself who talking. Doing our very best to not allow ourselves to be seen as aligned with the status quo and disgraced as America 2025. Literally it. And I'm gonna be one of the few people that you see footage of saying, man, I wasn't with it. Does that make it so that I'm doing enough? No, I ain't doing enough. No. Because the urgency, I was never taught of the urgency. It was never normal for me to engage in any urgency, actual urgency. Aaron Bushnell-like urgency, real urgency. Do something now type urgency, like what these kids deserve in order to save them. That urgency, we don't know nothing about that. We're not even conditioned to understand what that is. We too soft over people to even know what the hell that is. I'm supposed to what? And miss the game? Never. I'm supposed to what? But I gotta go work in the morning. I'm supposed to what? But how are we gonna feed my family if I stand up against corruption? How can I make it so that we're able to watch Saturday morning cartoons comfortably? Like, no urgency. We didn't know how to be urgent because we were too fat and happy with all of the different privileges of our pretty little lives. And I'm telling you, people suffered, died, agonizing pain and terror because of us not having it within us, in the decency embroidered in our fabric, to actually do anything that would be effective in saving them. We are failures. We are soft. Disgraced because of it. I'm not confused by that. That's what a lot of my conversation has been trying to rich in all of us to understand. I try to use my voice as much as I can to help y'all understand. And that's exactly why them people over there going through unprecedented dangers. And then whatever comes of us because of it is just going to be because we didn't have that urgency in us to do anything about it. To display to the world that we did not align with it. Show the world that we cared enough to step outside of our comfortable little lives to save somebody else who's going through things that we're terrified of. Just like those who were watching slavery take place and didn't do nothing about it. Just like those who watched as they tore up lands in the past and killed all the indigenous people and raped and pillaged the land. And I was thinking about the conversation we had about them giving drugs to the Palestinian people, putting it in their flour and all that. They've been doing that to us too. They did it to us. They put the drugs and the alcohol in our neighborhood. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. When I really sat down and meditated on it last night, the Lord put it in my heart to understand, it's what they've been doing. You can be outraged that they're doing it to the Palestinian people, but don't lose sight that they've been doing it to yours the whole time. The hell you think the crack epidemic was? They put that stuff in your spaces. You got addicted to it, and everything that transpired from that took place. They were always giving you drugs. They were always trying to dampen the minds and dumb down the minds of people that ultimately they were terrified of and or hated, which terrified and hatred like them with them goes hand in hand. They were always trying to have an upper hand. It's always about being able to have the upper hand, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically, if possible, financially for certain. It's always about keeping you underneath their foot and you being so terrified to stand up to them, to ever come together to utilize any of your numbers, to overcome the terror that they're inflicting upon you. This is what's been going on here. And I'm sitting up here acting like I've never seen this before. Like, oh my God, they're putting drugs in those people's stuff. They've been putting drugs in our people's stuff. Like, damn it, that's what they've been doing. It ain't a new play. It's the same play. That's not creative. That's the same old shit. And that's what I'm telling people, man. We need to really understand this. We're not in a new space here when it comes to this type of stuff. We're not new. What we're seeing them do to the Palestinians, they've been doing to black people, they've been doing to native people, they've been doing it all over the world for a long time. Ain't nothing new. And I have to be reminded of that just like you do, maybe. There ain't nothing we seeing from these people in this Palestinian Holocaust, anything that they ain't done before. They've always been creative in their terror. They've always been willing to do horrible things that they would condemn you for. Always. And whatever faction they use, whatever hat they wore, it's always the same white supremacy doing the same war. Today they Jewish, yesterday they was good old Americans, before that they was pilgrims. It's always the same shit, man. No matter how many different hats they wear, it's the same thing. How you doing, man? Same thing. No matter what. That's how you know it's them. We're Jews today. Yeah, sure. We're patriots today. Make America great again. Yeah, I know. Same thing. We the Pilgrim's Pride. Look at the buckles in our shoe. I know. Same thing. Apartheid outside South Africa. Get those Africans out of here. Same shit. Same shit. Same shit. In Canada, they did it to the natives there. In Australia, they did it to the natives there. French doing it to Haiti. It's all the same. It's the same people. It's the same energy, y'all. It's just white supremacy. No matter how you slice it, that's why they work with hand in hand, different factions of it. The Jews and the great American whites, same shit. I tell you, ain't no different. Sorry. And those who are offended by this, you need to understand this is the truth. That's the thing. I'm not making this up. This is what's there. This was there. That's what there is. That is what is there to see. People without pigment doing horrible things to people with it, wearing different hats, saying they're different people and different religious factions. We burn a cross over here. We're Jews over there. We're Catholics over here. It's the same evil white people. It just is what it is. If you don't want to hear me say it, too damn bad. Stop acting like that. I wouldn't have to. Put down those ways and it won't be true. change, evolve, do something new. Then it won't be a reason to say any of this. I'm telling you, man, if we're going to get to a point where we start normalizing all of these conversations, because it's not taboo. It ain't. It's just what they did. It's not our fault that we're not dumb enough to ignore that it happened or that we didn't find ourselves blind as to see who did it. It's not my fault you did shit and then we're called out for it. Let's make that very clear. Because that's exactly what they want to do. Oh, you blame other people for this. Oh, you're blanketing everybody like that. No. You did shit. I saw it. I said something. And that's it. You don't do it, I don't call it. Ain't nothing to call. And so this is what we need for all of my good brothers and sisters who are lacking pigment, white people of many kinds, brothers without melanin, respectfully. Just like I tell the Jews to stand out front, the real good white Jewish people that don't want to be aligned with genocide, so too do you need to stand out front and separate yourself from your cousins who are trying to make America horrible again. And you need to do that. You need to be as loud. That's what white people from here on out are going to have to do. They're going to have to be loud, man, in their condemnation of the behavior of their cousins and their brothers and their fathers and whoever else is agreeing with that shit in their families. You got to do it. It ain't enough to just be cool. No, you can't just be cool because there's people being active and trying to pretend like they're you. And as I've been saying in this camera for the last couple of days, it ain't going to be people that deserve to be lashed out against. They ultimately get that lashing. It's going to be people who don't. That end up getting the vitriol pointed at them for stuff that others did. That's why it's important that you stand out and separate yourself from those others saying, that's not what I do. That's not how I move. I don't feel that way. And I don't align with that. And whatever else would be necessary to separate yourself from them types of situations to people. Because if you stand back and act like everything's equal, believe me, you're going to be lumped in together with those who are considered evil. And whatever comes of that is just what it is. It's not, you're not in a space where you can stand down. Just like I don't feel as an American, I'm in this place to stand down. When there's people who represent my country signing bombs that they pointing at children. I got to use my voice. I can't just sit back and act like none of this is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen from me acting like nothing's happening. That is not how that works. I get looked at as an American. Americans did this. Americans deserve that. And they're going to do it. And that's deserving. Because I never would have separated myself from them who deserved it. So that's what I'm trying to instill in everybody who follows me, who thinks of me as whatever type of way, a leader or whatever. If you see me as somebody you need to follow, then follow me on this. Stand. Take a stand. If you inhabit this land, or if you are a person of white skin, it ain't enough to just stand back and watch all this happen and shake your damn head. You need to open your mouth, speak out, stomp your feet, write a book, make yourself known, separate yourself, draw a line in the sand between you and your colonial kin. Let them know that you are not going to go down for what it is that they did. Maybe you're not strong enough or decent enough a human being to give back what it is that you ultimately benefit from. That's a grave mistake when you consider what it is we're talking about here. Because it's the selfishness of an individual that thinks, well, man, I benefit from this. I might as well shut up. You're going to go down with them. That's what the future holds for you. You go down with them. Your last name goes in disgrace with them. And while we're not in a space where we truly know what that looks like, believe me, we're living forward. We will. Calendar's still folding. You're going to know exactly how undesirable it is to be disgraced in this way in the future. You're going to know. Your kids are going to know. Your grandkids are going to know. Your great-grandkids are going to know. You do not want to have one of them last names. You don't. They're going to change their name. That's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to change their name. I'm telling you, I know exactly what I'm talking about. When it comes to this, I'm not mistaken. A lot of people are going to disassociate themselves from their grandparents, from their parents, because of how ugly it's going to be associated with these people. Just because they allowed for evil to take place while they were around. I'm telling you. It's just where we're headed. And the bad guy, whoever the bad guy is, however they look, they don't think this is possible. They think because they control so much today, that they have so much confidence that their decision making is going to pan out the way they want it to, or they control that wall and that wall and that wall, so there ain't nothing going to happen. They don't get it. They don't understand that they don't control everything they think they control, and that a lot of this is above them because God actually exists. And this is spiritual warfare, and the God that they serve don't care nothing about them. That's the spiritual understanding that they lack. People of God knows that God has their back. People of the enemy knows nothing of the sort. They don't have nobody having their back. The person they serve wants to destroy them. He can't wait to turn his back on them, stab them in theirs. So the spiritual understanding will let you know what's coming their way, just for what it is they engage in. The worst thing in the world is for people to look around, see things being calm right now, and thinking that's where it's going to stay. That's the worst decision. That's the worst mistake any of y'all can make. And it's going to be a lot of y'all who, in the days where that transpires, are going to look back on what I said and say, man, he was right. Man, it didn't stay cool. It was just fine to let that be what it was. But I'm telling you right now that it's so very unwise to let that point lead all the way up without any resistance to that. It's not fine that you waited until that time to realize that you should have done something. You should be doing something. You should distance yourself from that the best way you can. You got to take a stand. It's your best defense against what's coming. And that's basically what I'm here to tell y'all, man. So, I don't know, man. God bless us all. I don't have all the answers, but I feel like I'm privy to something. I feel like I get that this gets a lot worse, and that's not something to just sit back and wait to happen and regret afterward. I understand that. I deeply understand that. I'm out in front of it. I'm telling y'all, I'm not with it. The Palestinian people held so much value. Just as much value as my life. I believe that my life is valuable. I believe Palestinian lives are valuable. I'm not cool with them being put through unbelievable amounts of pain just because governments and people who are in power feel like it's fine to let them suffer. And basically, I don't feel what's in their body, so it ain't hurting me. And so I just be fine with it. I'm not that type of person. And wait till my arm is bent behind my back to start crying out for people to start giving a shit. I don't know. I wasn't that type of evil. Not. Video 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.